Joining me on the line, as he does every Friday on the show, ladies and gentlemen, he is from Cinemablend.com. His name is Mike Reyes, and he thinks about movies an awful lot. Hey, Mike, what's going on?
Oh, nothing much. How about you?
You're just trying to get past my last comment, aren't you?
Not so much as, I'm just thinking about those movies, apparently.
Okay, apparently, yes. Yes. All right, well, let's get to it this week. We actually got a lot to cover as I made a list today. Let's start with the one that I'll probably maybe end up taking the kid to. Rescue Rangers is coming out this weekend, correct?
Yeah, and I would assume you'll be taking the kid to it because it's debuting on Disney+.
Oh, it is? Oh, perfect. I don't have to go anywhere for it.
Yes, it is on Disney+ right now, although, I'm kind of sad that I didn't get to see this on a big screen because it was a lot of fun.
Really?
Oh, yeah. All right, so basic approach is this is a Roger Rabbit-style reboot where Chip and Dale, played by John Mulaney and Andy Samberg, are like actors. They're like animated actors that, they land Rescue Rangers and become big hits, and then they get canceled because one of them wants to go do a pilot, and the show just falls apart.
Okay.
So 30 years later, like basically present day, they have to reunite after having that falling out because there are some abductions going on and some shady dealings in the animated world. So it's very much a spiritual successor to Roger Rabbit. In fact, I got to speak to the screenwriters, Dan Greger and Doug Mand, and they basically said they approached this as like a backdoor sequel to Roger Rabbit. So it's not official canon, but that was their approach to it, and the movie absolutely feels like that in the best way possible. If you have not watched Rescue Rangers, you don't really need to, but if you are a Rescue Rangers fan, then you're gonna have more investment, and there's gonna be some things that stick out as a lot of fun. There are also a ton of cameos that I will not spoil here, but I did not expect in a Disney movie. Like, there's characters from other properties that you would never expect in a Disney movie.
Oh, that's kind of cool. Yeah, that's going back to when this first came out, I remember us having the conversation because when the trailer came out, I was like, man, if you're going to make a Chip and Dale's Rescue Rangers movie, I mean, that was a cartoon that was, when I was a kid, was out. And I feel like if you're going to do it, I don't know how I felt about it being like not a Rescue Rangers movie. Does that make sense?
You would have loved to have seen like Rescue Rangers, the show, adapted, that is something that they very consciously went into, something they very consciously addressed when they went to make this, because the screenwriters and even director Akiva Schaffer, who's 1/3 of the Lonely Island crew, who you would know from stuff like their SNL shorts and Hot Dog, Popstar Never Stop Stopping. That's basically you have all three of them in here. And that's basically sort of the sort of approach they took, was they wanted to be meta humorous, but also honor the show. But at the same time, they said, if you want to watch Rescue Rangers, they're right there on Disney+.
I get that part of it, and there's part of me that understands that, you know what, just a straight Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers movie probably wouldn't do well. But it doesn't mean that I wouldn't have liked to seen it,
Well, yeah, and I kind of would like to see them not only continue down this path, but it would be kind of fun if they maybe did do like a limited series, or like maybe start a series reboot like DuckTales, where they do go back to the actual world of Rescue Rangers and just keep making those episodes. But this is worth the time for anyone who is or isn't a Rescue Rangers fan. It is a lot of fun. I found it constantly entertaining and a lot of really good laughs. Like I said, some of the cameos in here, there's a handful that I would love to talk about in the future, but I'm not going to say anything now because I don't want to spoil it. It's just, go watch it. It's on Disney+. It's a damn blast.
There you go. Mike Reyes from Cinemablend.com joining me. All right, that's the one for the kids and the family this weekend. Let's do Downton Abbey, which I always mistakenly called Downtown Abbey because that's what I literally thought it was for the longest time.
And here I thought you were just, trying to get a rise out of me doing that.
No, for the longest time, I legitimately thought it was Downtown Abbey. Like, I
know you I know you admitted that earlier, but at the same time, I thought like in recent weeks, you've been doing that as sort of like a callback in our private conversations and sort of a way to kind of like poke at me.
A little bit maybe, but sometimes it's just more fun to say. Or I'll just say because it's just in my brain. Anyways, let's talk about the movie. How was it?
Downton Abbey: A New Era is wonderful. It is it's basically the sequel you would expect from the 2019 film that came before, and the hit TV show that it was based off of. This time, the Crawley family is heading to the south of France because Maggie Smith's Dowager Countess has randomly inherited a villa. And there is a whole bunch of mystery behind that. While that's playing out, a major motion picture is being shot at the estate, which is causing all sorts of chaos there as well.
Real quick, for the person that doesn't know much about this show, what's the point of Downton Abbey?
Well, Downton Abbey is basically writer-creator Julian Fellowes' story of a family sort of moving through the times. The first season starts in 1912, right as the Titanic sinks, and from there it kicks off this whole story about, the aristocratic family has problems with, who's going to inherit the Downton estate once the time comes, and that's basically one of the threads that goes through.
Okay.
And then also the downstairs staff are basically moving with the times as well because their station in life is starting to improve. Some people leave to have families and, become secretaries and all these other sort of opportunities that are opening up for them. It's basically a historical epic that shows social change through this family that you become endeared with. And, of course, all sorts of personal drama sparks from that. And there's a fair amount of heartbreaking moments and deaths that come through this saga. And basically, if you don't know Downton Abbey, at the very least, I would recommend checking out, there's a series catch-up video as well as a movie one catch-up video on YouTube.
Okay.
That basically lay out the stories. But at the very least, if you have Peacock and you've got the time, all 6 seasons are on there, and the first movie's on there. At the very least, I would watch the first movie, but if you can watch the show at some point as well, that works.
If you could watch all of it, that would be preferred.
Again, the catch-up videos are the bare minimum, and then I would say if you can get the first movie in, that's great.
All right.
I mean, there are definitely some deep cut references to historical references from the family in A New Era, but it's not like you need to do all of the homework to enjoy it. And it's wonderful. It has its share of heartwarming moments and cutting humor. And then I would definitely recommend Tissues because there's some developments that progress throughout here that have some very heartbreaking moments.
All right. Mike Reyes from Cinemablend.com joining me to talk about this weekend's movies. That's in theaters, correct?
Yes, that debuts in theaters. And I don't think it's confirmed, but I believe it will be on Peacock 4th of July, which is kind of funny considering this is an English show. And on 4th of July weekend, you get to celebrate the English aristocracy potentially.
Happy Treason Day, you ungrateful peasants.
Oh, the rowdy colonials.
Oh, next up on the list, Torn Hearts, right?
Yes. This is streaming on Epix, if I remember correctly, which is a premium cable network. You may be able to rent, I believe you can rent it on VOD, or you can rent it on VOD, and then it might eventually go to Epix.
Okay.
But this is a country horror film starring Katie Seagal from Married with Children, Futurama, Smart House. If you remember Smart House from Disney Channel.
No, I don't.
Anyway, so basically it is a movie about 2 young country singers played by Alexis Lemire and Abby Quinn. They are, doing the Nashville scene. They're trying to make a name for themselves. And then they basically luck into meeting Harper Dutch, one half of the famous Duchess sisters that were, the toast of the country scene in the 90s, that character being played by Katie Seagal. And they begin to be put through the ringer as their mentor tries to get them into shape. And basically it's like, what if Whiplash was an actual horror movie?
Really?
Kind of. Like, it has a little bit of Whiplash DNA in the sense that it's like these girls are being pushed to do what it takes to basically make it in their career. And it is a very interesting movie to watch. And the whole point behind the story is basically how women are pitted against each other in the entertainment scene.
Yeah.
I feel like it could have been a little bit longer, but what we have here is it's a pretty decent sit. Obviously Katie Seagal is fantastic, and then Alexis Lemire and Abby Quinn are pretty solid with themselves. And I just wish it would have maybe gotten a little nastier with that trio and maybe just a little more torture. But it's a lot of fun if you have the chance to stream it.
if I could get a little bit more torture, that'd be good.
Yeah, man. I mean, just, you're going a little too easy on each other.
All right, cool. I like it. Mike Reyes from Cinemablend. Cool. Mike Reyes from Cinemablend.com joining me on the line. Last movie of the week is not one you've seen, but it's such an interesting one. We didn't want to not talk about it a little bit. At some point, you're going to see it, though, right?
Oh, I need to see Men. I need to see this because Alex Garland is the director/writer, and for those of you who know, he's the man that helped bring 28 Days Later and Ex Machina and Annihilation to the screen.
This is the one where everybody has the same face, right?
Basically, that's what's shown in the trailer. A young woman, played by Jessie Buckley, goes to this remote village in the English countryside because of a recent tragedy that has befallen her. And it happens to be a village populated by men that all have the face and are played by Rory Kinnear, who some of you may remember from the Daniel Craig run of James Bond movies as Tanner M's right-hand man.
It looks unsettling in a very weird way.
That's Alex Garland's specialty. And I was not a huge fan of Annihilation. Maybe I need to revisit it, but I remember upon first seeing it, I wasn't a huge fan. But at the same time, I'll still admit that even when I'm not 100% on board with his stuff, the visuals and the concepts are always just so unsettling and creepy. And that's part of why I keep coming back. And this just looks like, I keep hearing that this is totally twisted beyond belief, and I am so excited for it.
Awesome. Mike Reyes from Cinemablend.com joining us on the line. We'll go back to Men once you've seen it, and we can kind of get the lay of the land on that one. Moving over to the world of movie news, let's go back to the Torn Heart stuff, the Katie Sagal, because there was some Married with Children news this week involving her and the rest of the cast.
Well, yeah. Out of nowhere, this week, all the big networks for TV have been doing their upfronts. So you'll get news like Riverdale is ending in season 7, or hey, Babylon 5 is still happening. It's just going to take a little while. And among all of those announcements came that Married with Children is apparently being pitched for a I don't know if it's a continuation. I think it's a continuation series. So they're not like rebooting it, to my knowledge. But the whole cast is coming back, and it's going to be an animated series.
I wonder what the style of animation is going to be for it.
I'm wondering that too, because look, it's no secret that even when Married with Children was on air, there was, The Simpsons were still on at that point. So it's not like the subject matter isn't fit for animation.
Yeah.
But then in the years after Married with Children went off the air, you had shows like Family Guy or F is for Family and all these other things where it kind of covers similar ground. So what I'm really interested in is, well, the animation style, the first thing, but also I'm very interested how they're going to change the story, or how they're going to, even if they will change the story, because of the fact that, it's been so long, and even though it's a legacy title, there's a lot of people that sort of run with the torch.
Like, I'm waiting for it to get the Tropic Thunder treatment.
What, like the sort of, like almost like Rescue Rangers, where it's like the very meta sort of, oh, you're all coming back for Married with Children. Why are we playing these roles again after 30 years?
No, like how people went back and all of a sudden Robert Downey Jr. was a horrible person because of the character he played. Like, I look at Married with Children the way that, it was, everything in Married with Children is something I could see people getting canceled for in 2022.
But at the same time, I think Married with Children falls under the same rule that South Park does. It's something that I call the asshole clause, or something along those lines. I really have to come up with a better name for it. But basically, you're told that these characters. It's called the asshole clause. That sounds good. I just know the word. What?
No, it's just very funny. It's like I could see him reading it at the Geneva Convention. Well, asshole clause here says.
It says that war crimes were limited to a certain threshold. No.
Oh God!
But basically, that these people are not good. That these people are outside the norm. They're just very out there. And by knowing that, you're allowed to laugh because you're kind of laughing at them, like maybe with them to a certain extent, but also laughing at them.
Yeah. No,
it's not like you're supposed to take Al Bundy or Eric Cartman as role models.
Yeah, but you look back and, like some movies and series from that time are getting that treatment. Like you look at how people look at, like a Revenge of the Nerds or Meatballs or, whatever.
Oh, definitely. But those movies do not codify the behavior as like, these aren't, those were technically the heroes. Like, you're supposed to, it's right in the title for Revenge of the Nerds. Like, the revenge is what you're supposed to be enjoying. But then when you trick the jock's girlfriend into sleeping with you, that's kind of okay, are we really the good guys here?
Well,
or are we just behaving in a way that guys are going to want to make a dark reboot of our movie 30 years later?
Well, you look at, some of the dealings of Bud, in the series. I mean, you kind of look at the character he played at the time, and listen, I love the series. Absolutely love the series. I think Al Bundy's one of the greatest characters ever written. But you go back and you look at that stuff, and, you think of the stuff Bud did to get with girls at the time, it's like, I don't know about this,
Oh, yeah. That's definitely, but again, we're supposed to be sympathetic to the Bundys to a point.
Yeah.
And ultimately, there are thresholds where it's like, they're not excusing their behavior. At the end, it's like everybody, even the Darcys, are very sort of like morally gray, and no one has a high ground.
Yeah.
It's like we're watching a very comedic version of hell at play.
You know what? I'm willing.
That's part of why it's such a good show.
I'm willing to give it a try. I've always thought that they, excuse me, that they could bring them back in some form. Like there was talks for a while. We even talked to who's the kid that played Bud, David Frischman.
David Faustino.
Yeah, he came on the morning show one time, and he was like, he was selling timeshares, and he was talking about, it was, trying to do a reboot where it stars more him, more in the Al Bundy phase or the Al Bundy role. But anyways, no, that's cool, man. I'm willing to give it a try. I kind of feel like it'll be like when they brought back Beavis and Butthead a few years ago. And I know they're bringing back Beavis and Butthead again at some point, but it didn't have the same magic as the first time around,
Yeah, but I am very curious to see the old man version, because I think they're doing a series, and then I heard they're doing a movie where we see old man Beavis and old man Butthead.
Yeah, I saw something from Mike Judge this week, and I can't remember. I was just looking for it because I was thinking about it. So Married with Children looks like it's going to get an animated adaptation coming back, and I can't wait. By the way, the last Married with Children was in 1997.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so you're talking about... Yeah, that's a long time, man.
Yeah, because that ran for like 11 or 12 seasons, didn't it?
10.
10. Yeah, I knew it was up there, though.
Yep. Last episode was called the Chicago Shoe Exchange, and it was June 9th, 1997. And you know what? We could probably finish out a 10-minute version of this show where we just talk about our favorite moments from Married with Children.
I'd have to go back and rewatch the show because I never watched the whole thing. But I definitely know that there's 2 bits that I could probably mention in that sort of episode. And, what was I going to say?
Dodge is a damn fine car. Ran over my wife with a Dodge.
One of the things that I've sort of seen looking at reactions to the project is that, from what I understand, Married with Children never really had like a solid finale. Like, it never wrapped its story up. It just kind of ended.
Yeah.
That's something that people are kind of hoping they'll correct in this whole project.
What else was there? So what are you guys using my socks for? Zuzu. Fuel.
One of my favorite moments. And this was like back in the early days of like where you could download so many MP3s of like audio moments from shows like SNL bits and stuff. One of my favorites was Al Bundy taking The Night Before Christmas and just putting his own spin on it. Oh, hi, Santa said, shall I talk about your wife? Her hair like an A-bomb, her nails like a knife. And he rose to the chimney and broke wind with glee and said, you're married with children and you'll never be free.
Oh, that's funny. Oh, God, it's such a great show. Married with Children getting that animated adaptation. We could, like I said, we could probably go on and on and on about our favorite moments. I do have the complete DVD series at home. I will say that right now.
Ooh, and I think it's also streaming on Hulu.
Yes, it is. A couple quick notes just to wrap up this week. I know you're not a huge fan of Stranger Things, but it looks like the creators of Stranger Things 4 and Netflix might be kind of upset with each other or more upset at a toy company.
Yeah, so something happened where season 4 has a monopoly set for Stranger Things. And from what I'm hearing, there are spoilers on this Monopoly set, and the Duffer Brothers are not happy. And it probably doesn't help that it also, the season 4 is now split into 2. So part of it will be premiering soon, and then in a couple months, they'll be premiering the next half, with season 5 being the final season. So I'm sure that people are just so happy. Well, the Duffer Brothers are so happy that this is ruining their summer play.
You know what, though? I don't really feel bad for them in the matter of this. This happens with like any movie that gets toys. Like, why they would be surprised that it wasn't going to affect them is beyond me, because you look at every Marvel movie, that's like the thing that we get like the month before the movie comes out. Oh, look, here's Gore the God Killer, or, you know, what, any other number of characters that are in a movie.
And then there's also variants that sort of lead people into thinking that they're spoiling. Like, let's not forget the toys for Winter Soldier where we thought Red Skull was coming back.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is something that toy lines have dealt with in the past, where it's potential spoilers, potential this, potential that. But this is apparently something so, like, I don't think Stranger Things has that much latitude, because it is just very squarely like its own thing, while also cribbing from various 80s properties. So even just mentioning stuff that they're using as influences kind of counts as like a quarter spoiler. And then you're just going full spoiler here by including, you know, I'm sure there's properties that show places they're going to go and people that creatures they're going to deal with. And, you know, merchandising always comes out ahead of the game. So it's always that delicate balance. And sometimes you get stories like this.
Good times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stranger Things Monopoly, folks.
There you go.
They made another one.
Mike Reyes from Cinemablend.com joining me on the line. What do we want to wrap up with this week's, Mike? I almost called you Steve for some reason.
I don't know why, but I don't know. What do you want to wrap up with? Because you seem to be on a real good tear of stories here.
You know what? I'm trying to think if there's anything else I saw this week that really stood out. The Married with Children thing stood out. The Stranger Things thing stood out to me a little bit. I don't know. This is going to be a really way to end this, but I don't have anything. Do you?
Well, there has been a lot of talk about Disney Plus's like Star Wars series. Like they're continuing the pattern of making more series, but at the same time, the movies are kind of MIA right now. Like, we have things like, I know Taika Waititi has a film that is supposed to go into production soon. Rian Johnson's trilogy is currently on the back burner, according to like this huge Vanity Fair article dropped earlier this week. And then they also, on the other side, they detailed stories about how not only do we have Obi-Wan, Ahsoka, and Andor coming out this year, John Watt, the director of the Spider-Man Home trilogy for the MCU, he was announced that he was leaving Fantastic Four earlier this year, and I think that kind of caught people by surprise. But what may have been part of the reason is he is now developing a series that sounds like Disney Plus trying to do Stranger Things in the Star Wars universe. Like, it's about a couple of young kids going on Amblin-like adventures in the era right after Return of the Jedi, where like the Empire is crumbling and the world is kind of rebuilding itself.
That's kind of cool. I'd give it a try. I don't know if it'll be any good, but I'd give it a try. With the Star Wars thing in mind, you did remind me of something. What was the article about Disney said they won't make the mistake of Han Solo again or something? The Solo movie. Did you see that?
I believe it was Kathleen. Yeah, I believe it was Kathleen Kennedy, the current head of Lucasfilm and basically the steward of the Star Wars universe right now. I believe that was in the Vanity Fair article that I was just talking about. It's like a massive thing if you get a chance to read it.
Okay.
Like, there's a lot in there. And part of it is she was saying, oh, well, we're not going to make the same mistake that we did in Solo by trying to recast classic characters with new actors. And a lot of people, what was interesting is a lot of people responded to that thinking, oh, you thought it was the recasting that was the problem of Solo. And I agree to a certain extent because I liked Solo. And I think Alden Ehrenreich was a fantastic new Han Solo. But if there's anything that flies against Kathleen Kennedy's remarks, it's the fact that Donald Glover was a perfect Lando.
Yeah.
No question. Yeah,
the casting in that movie wasn't awful. I wasn't crazy about the dude that who did Han Solo again? I'm sorry.
Alden Ehrenreich.
He wasn't quite gruff enough to make me believe it was a younger Han Solo, you know?
Well, not supposed to be that gruff at that point. He's still got some youthful vigor in him. He's going to get beaten down eventually. And by the end of that movie, he certainly took a knock.
I guess, I don't know. To me, he wasn't a great Han Solo. But that movie was just awful. Like, the story in it, I thought blew. Respectfully
disagree.
Okay. There's a lot of Star Wars stuff we don't see eye to eye on.
Exactly.
But I wasn't impressed by that movie. There wasn't any. It didn't do anything for me, and I've never seen it again since. I would almost put that in. This will put it into perspective of what I think of that movie. I'd rather go watch Last Jedi again.
Okay. So that's B-sox there for you.
I don't know, man. I didn't like the movie.
No, I get that, and the historical record has shown that you are not a fan.
You know what's funny about that, though? Think about this for a second.
What?
If you change the name of the characters and didn't put it in, like, have the Star Wars title on it, or that it was Han Solo or that, it might not be a horrible movie. Now that I think about it, it kind of fits into that whole thing of, like, the first season of Discovery on Paramount, where it's a good sci-fi show, but it's a Star Trek show.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's a conversation for another time.
Oh, that's going to get heated. I know it is. It'll be fun. One last quick thing I do have to throw out here that I just came across.
Okay.
Going back to Stranger Things, some of these episodes are going to be really long, if what I'm seeing here is correct. So they're talking about how the first 7 episodes of season 4 are May 27th. And the last 2 will be on July 1st. Episode 7, hour 38 minutes. Episode 8, hour 25.
Oof.
Episode 9, roughly 2.5 hours.
Oh, yeah.
This is not confirmed. Like, this is, well, at least I'm seeing it from fandom. Okay. I'm seeing this on Twitter. It's not like an official Netflix thing, but I'm sure if I dig deep enough, I could probably find an official source. But if this is true, wow. Okay.
Sure, why not?
It's not a TV show then. It's a damn movie.
We don't have time for movies. We just call it a TV show and put it on Netflix. Ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-bum, bing.
Wrong.
Mike Reyes from Cinemablend.com joins me every week to talk about movies and super long episodes of things. Ladies and gentlemen, Mike, you have a great weekend because we don't have another 2 hours.
Sir.
We both just kind of leave. We're kind of both pushing away from the table angry.
Not really. Like, honestly, not, because the moment we just said have a good weekend, it's like once you get to that point, it's like, yeah, you know what, man, have a good weekend.
All right.
It's like the business has been done. I love you, man. Have a good one.
There you go. I love you.
I love him. Oh, this is the end. That's something else I got to revisit.
I love you.
You want to talk about a cameo? That was tough. I loved that.